Good morning. Welcome to Wake Up Well, Stations of the Cross. Today we come to station 11, which is Jesus buried. The picture reminds me of the lyrics of the song, and here it is. Crucified, lay behind a stone, you live to die, rejected and alone. Like a rose trampled on the ground, you took the fall and thought of me above all. Jesus thought of you and me as he died on the cross. Today we're going to look at what happened to his body. The Bible gives us an account of what happened after Jesus died. In John chapter 19 verses 38 to 42. Afterward, Joseph of Arimathea had been a secret disciple of Jesus because he feared the Jewish leaders, asked Pilate for permission to take down Jesus' body. When Pilate gave permission, Joseph came and took the body away. With him came Nicodemus, the man who had come to Jesus at night. He brought about 75 pounds of perfumed ointment made from myrrh and aloes. Following Jewish customs, they wrapped Jesus' body with the spices in long sheets of linen cloth. The place of crucifixion was near a garden, where there was a new tomb, never used before, and that tomb belonged to Joseph. And so it was the day of preparation for the Jewish Passover, and since the tomb was close at hand, they laid Jesus there. And in Luke chapter 23 verses 54 to 56, we read that this was done late on Friday afternoon, the day of preparation, as the Sabbath was about to begin. As his body was taken away, the women from Galilee followed and saw the tomb where his body was placed. Then they went home and prepared spices and ointments to anoint his body. But by the time they were finished, the Sabbath had begun. So they rested as it was required by the law. In Jesus' day, the body would have been washed and anointed with expensive perfumes like nard, myrrh and aloes. Then the body would be wrapped in a shroud, face covered with a special cloth, and the hands and feet tied with strips of cloth. The dead person will be typically buried within hours of their death. This is mainly because the climate there would speed up the decay of the body, and there wasn't any access of preservation chemicals in those days. So the two secret disciples of Jesus, Joseph and Nicodemus, wrapped Jesus' body and placed it in a tomb, as it was prophesied in Isaiah 53 verse 9, which says that he would be buried like a criminal. He was put in a rich man's cave. But there wasn't time to properly anoint Jesus' body between his death and the burial, because it was done late Friday afternoon. However, we know that Jesus' body was already prepared for burial. This was days before the Passover. We come to today's reading, Matthew chapter 26 verse 12. When she poured this perfume on my body, she did it to prepare me for burial. The woman in this passage is Mary of Bethany, the sister of Lazarus and Martha. She poured perfume on Jesus' head. The perfume that she had poured would have been the purest form of spikenard, an expensive perfume that cost nearly a year's wage. And Jesus described it as a beautiful thing and she did it to prepare Jesus for burial. This was way before Jesus was crucified. Whether she understood it or not, the anointing that she did prepare Jesus for his burial. This is amazing how God prepared even Jesus' body before he died. And Mary, who often sat at the feet of Jesus, would have heard many times where Jesus said he will soon be crucified. I wondered whether she knew, or was she led by the Spirit of God? Following the funeral, very often families and friends will exchange stories about the person who had died, and they will comfort each other as well. And I was just thinking about, after a funeral, the days after a funeral, we often think about the person who have died, the history that we have had with them. And on this Saturday morning, why don't you, with friends, share stories that you've had with Jesus? Share the testimonies of how Jesus has touched your life. And if you're on your own, why don't you ask God to remind you of all the stories and all the testimonies that you've had with Jesus? Have a day of remembrance of the goodness and the kindness of God. And I just bless you this day to remember all the testimonies, all the touches of Jesus in your life. And if you don't know Jesus, today is a day to start a life with Jesus, who died for you on the cross. He thought of you when he died. I just bless you to come to him and to start a journey with him. Have a good day.